survive.
Try to look away from me. Don't do that. You see that motion that you're doing, right? Don't threaten me with a good time.
I'm holding the mic up to my mouth. Greetings, listeners. JP's being nasty. That's just nasty.
It's Sunday.
Welcome to another episode of the Paid in Full podcast. We are your hosts, JP and Mia, on the mics. It's been a little while since we've been around, but we're surviving right now. Not really. Well, we're going to go back to thriving mode, but right now we were taking some time to survive through our last couple of weeks, and we are making it, y'all. So happy to be here. Happy to be alive. Happy to be joyful. Lots and lots of things have happened in the last few weeks that we're processing and trying to traverse mentally. So nothing too devastating, but enough to be like, what is going on around here? So now that we're on the back end of the events in our lives, we're back to doing a fresh episode. So how are you, babe?
I'm good. I'm cool. Just preparing to try to spend some time with y'all this week as much as I can.
Yay. It's spring break. Pew, 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 pew.
We have effects now.
I know, but I want the air horn.
1 for applause, 2 for something.
1, 2, 5.
Stop being cheap.
I like the air horn. All right. So yes, it's spring break and we are enjoying it so far. So JP is taking off the week, most of the week, to be with his babies. So we're excited to have Dad home. So we're going to do Dad home. So we're going to do some fun things with the kids. So here we are. Lord, what number are we on, babe? 27. Yeah, and today's topic is going to be about loss, in terms of loss as in grief, and how different types of grief can, what they can look like in a relationship, and of course how those things can sort of culminate and impact. So we're going to try not to make it so heavy, of course, because this can be a topic that can trigger, make you sad, not as joyful as the ones we've had in the past, but we did want to take time to take a look at some different types of grief, because we are experiencing several different types currently in our lives. And so we wanted to just take the time and let people know and educate everyone on these types and what they look like and how they can sort of manifest in the house or in the apartment or in the job, right?
Yeah, so this is technically episode 26.5.
26.5. Look at us with the 0.5s. Well, all right. Thank you, sir, for that note.
Fact check, because you be lying.
I don't. I just don't know sometimes. So we're going to start off our episode and I guess sort of do some light reflection on losses that we've experienced so far in our relationship. As many listeners already know, JP and I are in our 17th year of life together, which is a blessing in itself. Of course, with that blessing has come several episodes or several, moments of real life kind of slapping in the face. And so we want to, maybe do some reflection on the things that we've sort of overcome and are still overcoming, honestly, in terms of loss. I do want to take a moment to say, if you are experiencing a loss right now, this may or may not be the best episode, because we don't want to be a source of trigger, or we don't want to be a source of sort of taking you down a dark place. So
I disagree.
You disagree? You think it's going to be healthy?
Could potentially help somebody, because you get the sense that you are not alone. Yeah. And other people have the same feeling as you. So
yeah. Even if it's fresh.
Okay.
I just worry about my listeners.
That's the grief. Sometimes some people just may feel as if they're alone.
Mm-hmm. That's a type of grief for that. So we'll talk about that in a moment. So our big one, I guess we'll just kind of it's no real easy way to kind of dive into it, is talking about my mommy in love, that we lost shortly after Drew, our son, was born. So
2013.
Yes, it was August. Drew was born in June, and Mama left in August. 2013. This is crazy. Think about the year, because I know you've said in the past that it was a happy year, but it was also a really rough year. Mm-hmm. It seems like it's so long ago, thinking that it's 2020 right now. So, but it's still fresh.
2022.
I'm sorry, what did I say? 2020. Woo! Okay, help me out, babe. Even more.
Gotta get past the pandemic. It's over, man. It's not, but
it's not. But they're trying to tell us that it's over. It's still very, very fresh. She had so many little, I guess, health crises, is that what we would call them, going on up into that point.
Yeah, she was diabetic, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it's just, with that comes a whole host of things that, you got to kind of look out for and stay ahead of. And when you kind of, if you don't get ahead of those things, they just kind of roll up into one. So, I think the blessing for us, and I don't want to, not necessarily call it a blessing, but this is the best word I can come up with, in losing my mother-in-law, was knowing that she went in her sleep. And I think that's always the way most people want to go, is we don't want people to, or anyone we love, to suffer. We don't want to watch them go through, watching them literally wilt away. And Mama went, we hope peacefully in her sleep. We don't want to hope that she fought to stay here. And they were like, no, come on, you got to come on. And she was, kicking and screaming, basically. So we like to think that she went, willingly to her mansion. So
yeah, she went. It was peaceful in her sleep. She was in good spirits, because, like I said, she passed on that August the 18th, which was a Sunday. I had just spoke with her that Friday.
Yep. Talked on Friday.
And we were just going about everything. So there weren't any signs that anything was wrong.
Yeah. So that was a rough one. Of course, we had a baby, and we were planning to bring Drew up to see her, of course, because she, and he was still under the 3-month mark. And we were like, okay, we're just going to kind of wait till he's 3 months and he's in the clear and had all his immunizations so that he could travel to go see her. But of course, I know that she's seen him. So I'm not like, oh man, he didn't get to see her in the physical form before she left. But, we carry her around a lot. So we know she is special ordered, especially this little one here. She's special ordered Jai. So
so I carry that more than her actually passing. Because I think, like I said, I do know that she was at peace when it happened. I'm at peace with that. Mm-hmm. I'm more upset about her not being able to meet Drew, and I carry more weight with the loss of my cousin. Because my mom lived a pretty full life. She went peacefully in her sleep. And what more could you ask for like that? Like I said, going out clear-minded and in your sleep.
Like, this is what I need.
Yeah. And with my cousin, I carry that more so because of how he left. He was murdered. And then, like I said, I'm also tied to that with the after effects of all that. So I dream more about that and have hang-ups about that than the passing of my mother.
Yeah, and he was young.
Yeah,
and that's another thing.
And he was young.
He was young, and so when we, I'm sure we have listeners out there who have lost cousins, family members, if any. Sudden loss, I think, cuts very deeply than, any other type for me, even if it's sudden as in going to sleep and not waking up, sudden as in getting shot. But, when you're young, it's, we don't think of ourselves as having to prepare to leave when we're in our 20s, So I didn't get to meet him. It was literally the beginning of Johnny and our relationship. And so I always, Johnny revered his cousin very much and talked about him a lot. And that's my dog and everything. But we were still so young in our relationship.
He was my first best friend.
Fresh, yeah.
So
I didn't get to meet him
since
yet.
I was like,
yeah, a little,
like 4 or 5. So.
Yeah. So we, I like to think that I met him. Okay. I'm good. I'm holding it together. So yeah, but it's those are the physical, the big ones, and of course we've lost other family members. My great grandparents here in Georgia, who I didn't know that long. They're on a side of the family that we didn't get to meet until I was in college, almost in college, basically. So I didn't get to have them a long time. But my great grandfather was 90, in his 90s. I want to say 91, 92, somewhere in there. He passed away in September of 2011. And then my great grandma was, I think, 89 or so. She passed in December. So they were months apart. Very vibrant. Didn't look their age at all. They looked decades younger, still driving, doing everything that you wouldn't think a 90-year-old, couple would be doing. They still were. And so that's, a loss that we had, in addition to, aunts, cousins, on both sides. Both me and Johnny have experienced those. So, but those two top ones, they're a little tough. It's still tough sometimes. I will, have random dreams of my mom-in-law. And I'm like, oh, yes, she came to see me. And I get so excited. I'm like, I knew that was her. I knew she was going to come and see me. So I relish in those. And I know that all of our conversations that we had, I was like, yeah, I'm doing what she wanted me to do. So, because, of course, she's another mommy. So that's how that goes. Those are the I don't want to say standard type of losses, but they're the traumatic ones. The traumatic losses is when we lose family and friends. And not even gone on friends, man, because we, JP has lost many friends over time. Many friends.
I've lost my 3 best friends before the age of 24.
All of them. Oh, yep. And not to any one particular thing. People always think, oh, it was gun violence. It's not. All of them don't always fall in that category. Just, different circumstances for different folks. So, and I haven't had many close friends who I've lost. I've heard of people who I went to school with who have passed away. But, nothing like that. So yeah. So that's the heavy things. We're going to kind of try to hop off these a little bit. What I really want to get into is not only just the traumatic loss, because that's a big giant category in itself, but the fact that there are 7 other types of grief in a relationship that can impact it. And I like kind of hopped onto these really quickly and I was like, oh. And you don't think of these different types of losses necessarily as grief per se, but they impact
name them
you.
and then come back around to it.
Okay, I can do that. So the different types of losses, let's see if I can kind of get them all in one spot here. I have my little papers because, of course, research extraordinaire over here. So here are the 7 types. There's non-death loss. There are secondary loss. There's something called secondary loss. Ambiguous loss. There's cumulative loss. Non-finite loss. And anticipatory grief. We'll get into that a little bit. And then the last one is disenfranchised grief. Okay, so loss and grief, we're going to use these synonymously, y'all, which means that if sometimes I'll say loss, sometimes I'll say grief, it's the same thing. Okay, just letting y'all know, like, wait, what are we talking about right now? So loss, grief, as in something has happened in your existence right now that has caused some type of existential change in your life. Right? Mm-hmm. So here we go. Let's see, what do we want to kind of start at? So right now we're all living through a series of crises. All right. Whether you are black, white, purple, blue, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, we're all living through different ones. Right. We're having a human experience. And I like to think that, of course, we know that we are full of energy as a human person. And our energy is trapped inside our human bodies, right? Human existence. So we're all existing on a certain type of plane until it's time for us to be released and to move into the next, the next scheme, basically, of our energy. So all of our circumstances are widely varied. Everyone is having some type of, are sometimes impacted in some way by the pandemic, by societal changes, by political things, by social justice and injustice, by sickness, health, by, being parents, non-parents. So, all of those things are a given, right? So we won't kind of touch on those too much. We're going to just really focus in on these different types of grief and see what type of experience JP and I have had with them. So let's start with the first one. The first one, and I immediately thought of college with this for whatever reason. The first one is called a non-death loss. Non-death. So they define it, and let me see. My source here, y'all, is an article called 7 Types of Grief You Should Know Right Now by Litsa Williams. Okay, so just following up psychology. All right, a non-death loss has to do with a person grieving the loss of anything significant to their physical, psychological, spiritual, and interpersonal life. So what happens with a non-death loss is that there is often something that has triggered okay, hold on, let me see. I'm reading and talking at the same time. Mm-hmm. Something that's triggered a change in someone's daily functioning, whether it's like a physical abnormality or something psychological, where a griever often views their lives in terms of before the loss and after the loss. Mm-hmm. So for some people, it's significant enough they have to process it, they have to kind of deal with it, and then they can manage it and go forward. For some people, it can be devastating and life-altering. I'll give you a couple of examples. Weight loss, right? Some people go through a long time, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight. And then some people have a weight loss type of surgery where now suddenly you've lost weight, but mentally you're still that person that you used to be. I still slightly, to some degree, I'm still that person. I was about almost 70 pounds heavier than I am right now when I got married to JP. And so at that time, I was pushing 200 pounds, knowingly pushing 200. And I went on a series of weight loss, publicized, popular weight loss programs, and have since been able to keep off 60 pounds. Yeah, man. I've kept off 60 since 2010 when we got married. But I don't. Some days I'm like, okay, hey girl. A lot of the times though, I'm still like insecure. And they just say it's that part of your brain where it's like I call her Fat Mia. Like Fat Mia comes out. And I'm like, okay, girl, look. And I'll be like pinching at my skin and like, oh, this is so, doing I don't want to say it's a woman thing. I think men do it too, to some degree. But like some parts of my brain are still like thinking that I'm bigger because I wear JP's clothes. Like on what?
Like in White Girls.
In White
when
Girls.
They was trying on the clothes.
White chicks.
Yeah. Whatever. Same thing.
Yeah, she was psycho. She was like really, really bad. But I still
cellulite Sally.
It's just cellulite Sally. I'm not that bad, but like sometimes I'll buy clothes. I know I'm a medium. I don't know why I pick up the large. I just do. I don't know. Like my brain, I'm like, hey, I can fit this, and then it's like, I'm like, girl, you can't fit this. It's just as big, and I got to take it back. So it's a mind thing, but some people, they go through that. Like that's a non-death loss because you've lost the sense of who you used to be. Even though it's a positive change, you're still grieving. Okay, that person needs to be gone. That person is gone forever, hopefully, but I'm still grieving the loss of that person because that, food becomes an identity when you have, some people have eating disorders and that kind of thing. Food becomes an identity. So yeah.
So that's it for you.
A non-death loss. I think friendships too. Because I've met so many people over time, and I've had friends who I didn't ever think I would lose. College friends, really close ones. It just sort of fizzled. Like I guess the season just came to an end, and just suddenly we weren't talking anymore and out of the blue. And I'm like, man, I still grieve the loss of that. Cause I thought I found the one friend who specifically I'm talking about. I thought I had found her the other day. Turned out not to be her, but I think I got excited that I thought it was her on the screen and it wasn't, cause she has the exact same name. It was a totally different lady. But I was like, oh, look, there's my friend.
Why don't you make the effort to reach out to her?
I don't know where she is. She's not on social media.
It's called Google.
I know.
You can find her now.
She has a very common name, so it's going to take some Googling. It's going to take some digging. Well, but that friend, I just want to
find your friend. You put forth.
I know, man. I think I'm scared. I'm scared of rejection. That's what it is. I'm scared of the rejection. I'm scared of her being like, bitch, you got my face, and I'll be like, but that's my best friend. So I don't know. I got to kind of work my way through that, and that's life. So that's a non-death loss that I grieve every now and then.
I got you.
So what you got, babe?
Mine was a gift and a curse at the same time.
Okay.
Going back to the loss of my vision.
Oh man.
So with that, it sucked that it happened, but it gave me pause on where I was going and what I was doing in my life at the time. And basically God told me to sit my ass down somewhere.
That's what he do.
And figure it out, because the path that I was going wasn't the path that he wanted. So that's how I have to look at it. While it sucked, I came out of it 10 times better man for it. So that's it for me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think that moment, not really necessarily changed the trajectory of your life, but when you put it that way, it was kind of like I said, you get over here. Like it was almost as if God had to get your attention because you were ignoring him. And he was like, this is not where you're supposed to be on. I'm going to force you over now because you're not listening. You a little wily little lamb right now. You off the path. So he had to kind of push you back onto it. And that happens, right? We think we know. He's like, okay, I'm going to show you who. I'm going to show you who in control of this thing. So yeah, you were trying to drive your own bus. He said, no, I'm driving. So, and you've I came in at the end of it, at the end of it, of your whole journey through that. So, I can imagine, where you've been just based on who you are right now. So, yeah, that's a good one. What else we got in terms of non-death? I don't think I don't know. Those are big significant ones.
We can always go back to it. So just keep it pushing.
I got you. Let's see. Second type of grief or loss here is called secondary loss. And it is exactly how it sounds. It comes at the tail end usually of traumatic loss, right? Those losses like kind of traditional, when we think of loss and grief, what we think traditionally. Mm-hmm. What happens is it feels like the main type of grief, that traumatic grief moment or that traumatic loss kicks off a string of secondary losses, and they keep happening and happening. It's like a ripple effect. So they said things happen related to finances. Finances get shot, right? Friends leave you. Something happens in the community. Your worldview changes. Your sense of self changes. Your faith in God changes. There is a ripple effect of subsequent losses for that grieving person. So the one piece of traumatic loss can then shoot off into all the other areas of your life, and you feel like everything is falling on you at one time. So that's what secondary loss is. It's just a ripple and a fracture in every other area of your life.
Mm-hmm. And that's honestly society as a whole. Yeah. And especially, I would say in the black community. Just the way that things are now. Mm-hmm. There are, to put it into context, we could say the death of grandmothers, Big
mm-hmm.
Mama.
Yeah, Big Mama in the house. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Big Mama in the family.
Because when Big Mama died, basically you could the family kind of strayed. She was kind of she would be kind of the glue mm-hmm. of everything, and once she passed, everything became strained within the family.
Yep.
And also in the way that times are going now, there are no more Big Mamas.
There's no more Big Mamas. Yeah.
We have the glam moms and all that stuff, and mm-hmm. it's different. Get it how you live.
Yeah.
So it's with that. So there's no more villages mm-hmm. anymore.
Right. And we're grappling to something, right? Some of us are trying to still find a village because we're out here by ourselves and we still need the backing of the village. But everybody now is so far away from each other. Like so many families have just dispersed, or we don't get along when we together, right? We just, I don't mess with you, I don't fuck with you no more. Like it is what it is.
That's a cuss word.
But it's the truth. Like it just kind of happens. And so we see a lot of that ripple, that fracture in families, like you said, when, the glue of the family leaves.
Or it's not there from the get-go.
Right. It was just, maybe a vision. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. And then you feel like everything in your life is shot. I might as well leave. Like, I don't even want to be here anymore because now, you lose your job. I can't find a job because you're grieving, right? And so they don't want to deal with me at work. If I ain't got no money, I can't pay my bills. If I can't pay my bills, then I'm losing my man. He gonna leave me. And all my friends, I can't go out. That whole ripple, it can feel like everything is up against you in the world. But please do know that if you are going through this type of grief or this loss, y'all, that it's supposed to feel that way. That's why it's a loss. It's number 2 on the list. So you're not by yourself. Like the other people, we have all kind of felt this at different levels at different times. So, that's good. That Big Mama reference is, yeah. Third one, ambiguous loss. Ambiguous is one of those words I actually had to recall to remember if I even knew what it meant. I was like, wait, do I know what ambiguous means?
Break it down for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not scholarly like that.
I got you. Here's the sort of definition. Ambiguous loss happens when you're grieving someone who is still alive. right? It happens when something or someone profoundly changes or disappears. And so they say that the person who is experiencing this type of grief feels torn between the hope that eventually they'll come back and things will be normal, or the looming sense of your life as you knew it with that person is fading. Right? So someone or something that you know are psychologically absent, and they say because of maybe something like dementia, substance abuse, traumatic brain injury, that sort of thing. So they may be still physically present, but psychologically absent, or someone we can't physically be with. Like if your spouse per se is having to live in another state because they have another job, but you're in Georgia, they're in California. You can't physically be with them, but you're grieving the times where you could both be in the same place at the same time. So it's someone who's still alive and they're either psychologically absent or you can't physically be with them at the moment right now. And you're hoping, you have that scheme that is, I'm hoping that things will come out and be good. But we also know that what we used to have is fading away, and you're kind of stuck in between in that little purgatory area.
So what if you feel nothing?
What if you feel nothing? Well, you know what I'm thinking about? If you feel nothing, you're probably past the point that there's no hope. I think that you're just past the point where everything's kind of faded and it's faded away. You still have memories, I think, of that person, but it's never going to be like it was, and you're just embracing it now, I think.
What if it never was?
Well, then I don't think it's a grief then. If I feel as if you don't feel anything for that person any longer, then it's not a grief. It's just, this is what it is now. You've kind of reinvented how you feel about that person. I don't know. I think that's okay that if you gotten past any type of loss, especially if you've been dealing with it for a long time. Like if you've been going through this like most of your life, you wouldn't feel grief per se because it's been decades.
Okay. But yeah, to give some personal context for it, more so it would be more so for my siblings. Maybe because they're older than me, so maybe they had better memories than I did, but I would tie to my father. Like I said, I haven't talked to him in 4 years.
It's been 4
years since I talked to him, and it was sporadic before that. Like I said, my mom passed in 2013, so over the course of the last going on 9 years, I may have talked to him.
It's total
10, I'd say under 10 times.
I would say that too.
Under 10 times. And probably only seen him physically 3 times.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because I think the last time we saw him, Drew was a baby.
Yeah. So that's why I'm trying to process that, because I don't know if it's not necessarily, it's not a grief. I haven't given up hope. 'Cause like I said, it is what it is as far as the relationship that we had, as far as the relationship that we have. But I'm not closing the door on it. I have a realistic acceptance of what it is. Like I said, for my brothers and sisters, they may have a grief of it because they may have had better earlier memories than I did myself. So that's why I asked, because I get it, but for me personally, I feel nothing.
Well, I think a while ago you said something like you don't miss what you didn't have, right?
I can't put into.
Is it not really that? Because I said if you don't have, you have memories, but it's not like burnt. They're not like core memories, because those core memories are the things that stick with you from when you were younger. So
yeah, I came at a different time. So
yeah. So and they might have the more core memories.
Yeah. The
happy core memories.
Yeah.
So that's okay though. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think a lot of people go through situations or series of, I know what it is and it is what it is. But right now in my life, this is where I am. This is where they are. Maybe one day we can reconcile, maybe not. But right now I don't feel one way or the other. Right. And I think that's what you're sort of saying. You are kind of is it just realistically in a gray area? But you're moving forward. It's not devastating to you. It's not like keeping you from going forward.
It's nothing that's going to cause me to walk up on the stage and slap the shit out of somebody.
Right. Right. So there you go. Hey. Okay. It is what it is. So I'm with you, baby. All right. What is going on out this world, y'all?
What's up, man? How you doing? Have you or someone you know been a victim of fuckboy or girldom?
Well, now that you mention it.
Have you heard?
I'm really just trying to focus on me.
What about?
It's not you.
Oh my God.
It's me, baby.
And the timeless.
Maybe once I get myself together, it'll be better.
Yuck. And what about you, Kings? Are you tired of hearing?
Don't worry about it. That's just my brother. That's nothing.
If so, you may be entitled to redemption and or
sweet, petty ass revenge.
Excuse me. Please contact the Paid in Full podcast and share your story.
Exercise those demons.
Paid in Full podcast is not responsible for any MDMs or flash tires.
Oh man. Quick commercial break, y'all.
And we're back.
Thank you for the quick commercial, JP. That'll be a whole nother podcast in itself. I don't think we have anything new to add to the conversation of the Oscar slap heard around the world. So we're just going to keep going forward with that. So back to our conversation. Please, Father God. Number 4, types of grief. So we've discussed non-death loss, which JP had a great example for that. Secondary losses are the ones that sort of occur after the big traumatic loss, when it feels like everything in life is just kind of crashing down altogether. And then we have ambiguous loss. Ambiguous is like not one way or the other. So these are when you are sort of trapped in between someone focusing on the fact that you can have hope that something or someone will come back to you, but also know that what you knew from the past is not the same. So someone who is psychologically absent or physically unable to be with you at the time. So the 4th type of grief, and I'm going to take off my glasses because my eyes are dry, dude.
No, you can't see.
I know. That's all right. I won't fall out this chair.
That's not ask her to read anything.
That's fine. I'm going to just hold it up really close.
A, B, C, D.
The 4th type is accumulative loss. You're not going to do that. Cumulative loss. Cumulative loss refers to suffering a new loss before you have the chance to grieve a first loss. This, ladies and gentlemen, is pandemic in a nutshell. Oh my God. I have heard so many stories from people I know every day who have lost somebody in their family. And then here they come 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, a month later, they lose somebody else and then somebody else and then somebody else. And it's like, damn it. Look, hey, how much more can I take? Like, I literally have a friend at work right now who lost her brother in January and lost another family member literally Friday before we left for spring break. And I was in the room with her when she got the call. And she was like, I'm still grieving. Why can't I grieve one at a time? Why are these like overlapping losses happening? And I feel so much for my friend because she had to kind of keep it together at school. So,
That's what we went through.
Yeah, we did. We had a cumulative.
My grandmother passed. We went up there to go to the funeral, and then while we were going to the funeral, we got news that my sister-in-law had passed. So in the matter of 14 days, we had to travel like 1,400 miles.
Yep. We had to go back and do 2 funerals back to back. Yep, for 2 different lives, 2 totally different situations.
And then your aunt and uncle most recently.
Yep. I lost my aunt and uncle 11 days apart. Last year, almost. It's just over a year.
It's been over a year.
Yeah, March. Huh?
Okay. I'm
Okay.
missing
No,
what
your
you're
face,
talking
I was like, no, it's okay. I got you. And here's the thing about cumulative loss, y'all. It's noted as a cumulative loss because when people suffer multiple losses in quick succession. Ooh, I can't talk, y'all. But in all honesty,
Can't talk, can't see.
I know nothing. You got my glasses off. The reality of it is when you lose someone, those traumatic losses, your grief is never done. Right? You can't grieve someone that you loved who was here. They were just alive and now they're not. And then you just say, okay, I'm going to take this time and I'm going to take 3 months and then I'm going to be done. Your grief is never finished. Right? So they say here, and that I believe in this, that some amount of cumulative loss or cumulative grief is almost always a given for any singular grief that you experience. So me losing an aunt and uncle 11 days apart, and me losing, another family member soon, because I'm experiencing potentially other losses in the near future, unfortunately. But those are going to be cumulative because I'm not finished grieving my aunt and uncle, right? You never finished grieving. I'm not finished grieving my mother-in-law. I'm not finished grieving my husband's best friend who I never met. I haven't finished grieving for them. But of course, I can't stop grieving in order to start grieving for someone else. So cumulative griefs are, sort of layering on. But I think where it becomes particularly difficult is when they happen closer together. When you have a 6-month period where you lose 3 or 4 family members, and people did this and are still living this because of the pandemic. When COVID was like really ramped up, people were losing their family members left and right. And people were also not given a chance to properly grieve because they couldn't have funerals and wakes and services. And that's another type of grief I'm going to touch into in a second. But it got really, really bad for a lot of us. Earthlings, essentially humans. It's sort of what brought us together because we were, empathy, but it still got really bad for a lot of people. Some people just couldn't take it, So, here's the one thing about avoidance, because they did talk about avoidance with this one, because what often happens is that we do something that to the effect of we just keep going, right? And it's avoidance. And it says that avoidance, it looks like avoidance can be a really bad thing, but it's literally our physiological way of functioning in the short term. So being able to just avoid it, make it look like we're just living our lives. We okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I lost 3 family members. I'm fine. I'm fine. And everybody's like, no, you not fine. I'm just fine, y'all. But what happens is like your body it forces you to be adaptive to what's going on. And that's why some people, before they actually like blow up grief, like that whole loud, I guess you would call it, just kind of explosion of your grief. That's why it looks like people are kind of just maintaining before that actually happens, because it's our body's way of trying to keep us functioning day to day when we're overloaded with multiple loss. So it's our body's way of saying, okay, wait a minute, let me pause for a second. Let's just pretend everything is okay for right now, and we're going to come back to it, and we're going to grieve later. And so that's why you see some people act cool, and then they're not cool. It like just kind of flies up out of them. So
Chris Rock.
Oh my God. You think that's happening with him?
No, it's what happened with Will. Will's taking all those L's.
Yeah,
he's been taking a lot of L's. But we're not talking about that. But
I know.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
It's a cumulative loss. He's had cumulative losses.
Yeah.
On behalf of his little
wife. Move on. Loss grief. I said grief.
What becomes important when losses have become cumulative is an awareness that we need to make a concerted effort to begin the work of facing the reality of the loss. That's where it gets difficult.
Leave her at. Oh, don't do it. I gotta delete that.
This avoidance can't continue indefinitely. You can't avoid it indefinitely. I am talking over the whispering because he keeps saying we're not talking about it, and then he keeps talking about it. So, anywho, we're not adding to the conversation, husband. So, so that's the little like fine print with cumulative loss, that it's a given automatically, because we're never really over when we lose someone that we love. So there you go. Number 5 on our list of 7, Mr. JP. This one is called non-finite or non-finite. Finite. Here we go. Non-finite loss. You know, I'm like a little country bumpkin. Yes, infinite. There you go. Non-finite. So non-finite loss is when someone doesn't have the child, partner, job, or life that they want. They may experience, why you laugh? Because non-finite grief. So I'm gonna just give you a little definition. Or aggression. That's a part of the grief. Yes. Non-finite grief is something a person may carry with them for a long time. It continues as they struggle with trying to achieve their hopes and dreams, but continually finding that life falls short of their expectations.
Is it life or them?
So, them in the life that they think they're trying to get.
It might just be them.
Them trying to run this life that they are not, that's not what they should be doing. Yes, they're trying to run themselves into something that is not what you're supposed to be doing.
Or the parents pushing the expectation. Or the parents pushing it upon them.
Right, that too. But that's still them agreeing to go into that life. Yep.
But you're supposed to.
Many things are out of the person's control, and they then are struggling to find a new identity for themselves. Yep. Non-finite grief. So it says, when the world is bringing up a lot of dissonance between what you thought things would look like and what they do look like, you may be struggling with non-finite loss. So
I'm going to let you go.
I had a lot of our last episode, episode 25.
Let's turn my mic
talked
down.
A lot about social media and relationships and how those different relationships can be impacted by certain social media, behaviors. And I think that non-finite loss can be a natural consequence of certain social media behaviors, or just plain expectations with some people, I think. And I don't know quite how to get people to kind of come out of that. I don't know if I have any particular good advice for people who feel as if I'm trying to lead this life, it's just not happening. What do I need to do? I don't know. And I don't want to say lower your expectations or lower your standards, but I think a lot of us sometimes need to just stop and take a good look around what we are doing and how we are doing it, and determining if
self-awareness. Yeah.
And like self-perception is a mug, man. That thing will just slap you. I think it's a good idea to just sort of, take note of what exactly is going on in your life, and trying to make, tune up, make some different adjustments, change those frequencies that you're putting out, because something is happening. And I'm a big believer in energy, and the energy that we receive is the energy we're putting out. And so I feel as if things are always going wrong in your life, it is you and what you're putting out. Energy is just a giant ass boomerang. It's going to just come spinning back around and going to aim for your dome piece. So if you are like always like in drama, and something's always happening in your family, or something's always happening, you can't keep no job, just bad on top of bad, it's probably the energy that person is putting out, and it's and it's creating the non-finite loss. Like it's feeling, oh, I can never get anything right, because that's what that person is putting out into the universe. So I don't know. And I don't know, I'm not a psychologist. We don't, do this for a living. I'm not, we're not monetized or anything, but I think it's just, reading a really good book. There's so many good books out there about the energy that you put out. And I think that would be a good place to start. But you got to have a sense of self-awareness too. People don't think that anything is wrong. They think it's just their life. They're living a non-finite grief experience and don't even know it. So, yeah. How about that, JP?
I'm going to go with what you said.
Okay, you just going to say ditto?
Yep.
Okay.
Butterflies in the sky.
Number 6 of our list of the 7 different types of grief is anticipatory grief. So anticipatory. This type of grief occurs before a potential loss. So what happens with anticipatory grief is anytime circumstances lead a person to think that death is a possibility, they may already start to grieve the aspects of the loss. They already start to sort of pre-grieve the person. I know for a fact we did that when great-granddaddy got sick. And he was fine. And then his dementia, my great-granddad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, of course. And that's just the big, it's kind of like, it just kind of goes downhill from there. So I think for us in our family at the time, he passed away in 2010. I feel like granddad died because he died right after Christmas, because we were just, let's go to Christmas. We're going to get him. We're going to have him for Christmas. We're going to have him for Christmas. And he was 87 when he passed away of his of complications with Alzheimer's. That's essentially what it was. But we had a, family meeting. Everyone was talking about it, what's going to be done. All of his affairs were in order because he was a war veteran and he had a really good pension and, everything was fine. So none of the financial things bothered us. It was just the fact that we knew that everything that we had known about Granddad was, going to become a memory very quickly. So I think we pre-grieved in anticipation of, we knew that he wasn't going to last very long. He had gotten very verbally aggressive. He was cussing grandma out and talking about the people in the room, who we just took to be, the spirits who were getting ready to take him home. One second he would know you, the next second he wouldn't. In his mind, I always stayed in college because when he first was diagnosed, I went off to college. And so for the rest of my life, it was, how's school? And he would ask me that repeatedly. How's school? How's school? JP was always my dad. Like in his mind, he couldn't tell the difference between my dad, Chris, and JP. So he would always tell JP, ask JP, Chris, how long you been in here? And my husband's such a, sweet guy, always very accommodating. He like, oh, I just got here. JP never said, oh, I'm not Chris. So, I think we experience a lot of anticipatory grief. I have some going on now, with the family. It's just one of those sort of like, it's going bad. The doctors are saying it's not going to get better. So you have a moment where you just want to go ahead and grieve. Like I went ahead and pre-grieved my granddad. I had a moment, just let it all just rip because I knew that I wasn't going to have him anymore. So it made it, it didn't make it easier when he left, but we had already prepped for it. So all it does is I think it elongates your grief, make it slower over time as opposed to all at once suddenly. It doesn't make it any easier, and it can be complicated, I think. But for me, I think I would rather kind of draw it out and pre-grieve someone, especially if they're sick, than if I don't acknowledge it and try to ignore it and it kind of catches you off guard. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What you over there doing, dude?
No, I'm listening.
You good? All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say mine is I wish I was dumber.
Okay.
I wish I was dumber and could have enjoyed the moment a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been pre-grieving since 2010. It's weird because it was our wedding, and I knew at the time that this would be it as far as like the perfect day of having everybody.
All our family was still alive.
That we were there, and I was like, "This is not going to happen again," which added to me crying.
Oh man!
So
yeah, you didn't tell me.
I wish I didn't think like that, but just the snapshot that we got in that room, I knew that was it.
It wasn't gonna happen.
It wasn't gonna happen again, and it has not.
Yeah, we lost.
And it's a continuous thing. But like I said, I can tie it back to 2010, to that day.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because we got that like bird's eye. We got a couple bird's eye view pictures, and we can literally point out who's here and who's not here anymore. So yeah. All right. Anticipatory grief is man, it sucks.
Who thinks like that?
I know, but I mean, yeah, I know. I was scared to say we had some older members. No, they weren't even that old at the time. So it's all right. I mean, I think we're aging, and so our parents are aging, our grandparents are aging, everybody's aging. So we know we're not going to have them forever. So you sort of kind of try to get yourself together for that, because you never know what's going to happen. Like we don't know. So you just try to make do with what you got. It's like, man, it's not going to last forever.
I guess I was actually more so, I say I wasn't in the moment, but I was actually in the moment.
You were in the moment.
By thinking that
yeah, this is significant.
This is perfect.
Yeah, man. Because even if we still had them here, we never would have had them all in one place, right? Because I have family from here who live in Michigan, and I have family who live in Atlanta who wouldn't have met my Illinois family. Like, it just, yeah, that's a big thing. So when we always have our pictures, and we can pretty much mentally map that whole day from our memories. So, and that's important. Pardon me. Let's talk about those last one, number 7 of the list. Number 7 is disenfranchised grief. And this is where...
Is this racist?
No, it's not. Disenfranchised is not necessarily racism related in this context, sweetie.
Okay, you sure? Because I can...
No, we don't have to. It's sorry.
What's up, man? How you doing? Have you or someone you know been a victim of fuckboy or...
All right, go ahead.
Oh, Lord help me.
I'm going to start playing the commercial more.
You should. It's funny. We're going to record some more, by the way. Disenfranchised grief. And then this is another one that's just like COVID. Is when a person feels denied the right to grieve, whether by family, friends, community, or society on the whole. When a loss is disenfranchised, it means the grieving person isn't getting the support or the validation they need for their grief. So, for instance, my main example is when we as a society were going deep into COVID and we weren't allowed to have more than a certain number of people in the funeral home. We weren't allowed to have services. Right? People couldn't have funerals. People couldn't bury their dead, essentially. And that's one thing to be a person, to be a mammal, to be a human, is the ability for us to mourn the loss of our family and bury our dead and actually celebrate their homegoing, because that's why we have homegoing services. At one point in COVID, when, COVID was like ramped up, we couldn't even have homegoing. So I feel for I think about, family members that I know of, like when my aunt and uncle passed away. He passed away in March, 2020. And so what happened with that is that, of course, we kind of got smashed into, you guys, we can't really have a funeral because, we can't have more than X number of people safely inside of a room because of COVID. My dear cousin had to endure that. She lost her father and then lost her mother at essentially at the same time, if you want to be real, and could not necessarily have the services that they deserve to have because, for their homegoing. So a lot of people, we lost millions of people take off on spaceships. And we can't mourn them the way we would normally mourn them as a society. That hurt, right? That is some deep hurt. That's what it's meant by disenfranchised. The impact of the person experiencing it is alienation, invalidation to some, left or right degree. They feel ashamed. They feel weak. They feel, angry, right? And so it's I guess it's sort of the same impact as would a disenfranchised in terms of, race, gender, nationality, ethnicity, those sorts of things would be. For us, it was just, for a lot of people, a homegoing service is a way to say it's okay to go home. It's okay. We're here. Look, we're celebrating you. Your spirit is above us now. This is your body. Go home. We will see you soon. So for people who couldn't have that, it was almost as if you're forcing their spirit to still be here. And we just put them in the ground, basically, and couldn't have a service. Like, that's a lot. Like, I don't want to think of a time where I won't be able to mourn the loss of my family members the way they deserve to be mourned. So that's what's meant by disenfranchised loss. So, and when you don't feel like you have a support system, which me saying it out loud sounds awful. Like, I'm pretty sure someone's going through this, that, you lost a child who loses their father, even though they didn't have a close relationship with their father. They can still grieve the loss of that man. That's the person who brought them into this world. But baby mama's like, you don't need to worry about him. Don't even worry about him. Stop crying about that man. He ain't even want you. Boo, 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 boo. That's an invalidation of that baby's feelings, right? Because you can't tell someone how to grieve for another person. So that's another form of disenfranchised loss.
Compassion.
Compassion. Yeah.
Compassion.
Life is life.
Has become disenfranchised because
we don't have it.
We've become isolated, and we've lost human interaction. How many times have somebody coughed or sneezed and you looked at them? Mm-hmm. Like
how dare you
like they
sneeze?
had polio or the plague.
Yeah, how dare you sneeze around me? Even with a mask on, they'll look at you like you just lit they ponytail on fire. You just burnt my yaki. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what they look like. Yeah, how dare you sneeze? Yeah, there's basic human compassion. Mm-hmm. It's gone. Mm-hmm. I see it in middle schoolers. I mean, everybody knows it's a given. 12, 13, 14, 15, that age range, y'all, is when their brains grow more than their entire lives. So children, and my people who have preteens, this is why they act the way they do. Their brains are growing faster than their bodies know what to do. So they're constantly hormonal because of the hormones change every day. We're talking every 24 hours, y'all. Hormones are changing. Bodies are changing. They don't know what to say, what to think, what to do at any given moment. That's just the unpredictability of a middle schooler. Add on that loss of social compassion. Social compassion is gone. So I have a situation where I have a room full of students who literally are clawing at each other's throats because they don't have compassion. And it's the same thing that JP is saying. They not only are experiencing all these factors that they can't control, right? COVID, police are shooting us, my mama lost her job, grandma, grandpa, auntie died, blah, 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 blah. These are all things that, children can't really control. But add on, I don't like you because, and I can't tell you I don't like you, so I'm just going to say, in the language that I know, I'll just say, fuck you to your face and put up the bird when the teacher turn around. That's what they do, though. Like, and it's okay because for 18 months straight, they were stuck in the house talking to each other on the internet. So on the internet, I can say, F you and put the bird up and you won't say nothing back. I'm going to do the same thing in your face. And so now you got a problem. So now we have a series of kids who are expelled because they don't know how to behave. So it's the same thing, that compassion, the disenfranchisement in society, not only for just children, but adults as well. We have adults who, like JP said, we can't sneeze or we can't cough. They automatically think you have COVID because you coughed because it's allergy season, right? So that's just a slight aside. I went off track, but it's all the same thing. People don't have compassion. Mm-hmm. We can't mourn. We can't grieve. We have another problem. And then, of course, that sets off another mental illness crisis that we have in our country. We don't take care of our mental capacities. We don't take care of our mentally incapacitated people. And so we just add it on to the crop and we don't do nothing about it. So yeah, I went on a rampage. Sorry, babe.
That is okay.
I'm very passionate about kids. So I'm like, man.
Another satisfying racial moment.
Thank you, husband. Oh, man. So, I don't know. What do I say after that? I don't have anything to say after that one. So, those are the 7 types of grief. I know. We're trying to lighten it up, y'all. On all honesty, it's rough talking about loss and grief. We know these things impact us, right? So we don't need to go into the rabbit hole of the fact how grief can manifest itself in your relationship, because it becomes walking, talking. It's like a little person in your house, basically. If you have a spouse who was going through a grief, they're going to do one of 2 things. Like, realistically, they're either going to grip and hold onto you and be clingy and hurtful and tearful. And, I need to talk about this over and over and over, because they're processing it, right? They're processing it, and they're trying to make answers appear, right? They're going to either do that, or they're going to distance. They're going to go way out into the field, and they're going to live out there, and you're going to be by yourself. They're going to be like, snippy, leave me alone. They're going to cuss. They're going to fight you. They're going to be like, I don't want to talk about this right now. Leave me alone. Perfect Patty messed up. Get out of my face. I don't want to do any of this. I thought I had put the seatbelt on and I didn't. It's going to be a lot of that. So they're going to do left or right at any given moment. And so I think essentially what you need to do is just let them know that you're there for them, and just kind of stand by for whatever can happen. Because I think people can vacillate between the two. I think somebody can be, at one point, losing somebody, can be grieving and be like, oh my God, hold me. And the next second be like, no, get away from me. I don't want to talk to anybody. Everybody leave me alone. I want to die. Right? So I think it's just important to keep communication lines completely open and be ready for any up and down. And then if they need therapy, y'all, therapy is not a kiss of death. Please go get them some help, because people really, really are hurting. And hurt is growing legs and arms now. And hurt is something that can completely change. I have had friends divorce over grief. Perfectly fine, solid relationships, been together since high school and college. They lost somebody in their lives and never came out of that, and straight up divorce. And their entire lives got tip-topped upside down because they had secondary losses, right? Cumulative loss, ambiguous loss, and all of this just kind of slammed on top of them, and they never found a way out of it. And I don't want, our listeners to have to live alone and be alone, especially when you're grieving somebody. So y'all just get somebody to talk to, whether it's your pastor, because they, generally they're, less expensive than, going out and seeking out someone professional. But if you need somebody professional, y'all better make that budget work. Try to go and get some help, and get somebody to help as soon as possible, because grief is something that we're going to have to go through. It's one of the parts of life is grieving, losing and grieving. And so having somebody there is going to make it, it's not going to make it easier, but it's going to make it bearable, so that you can take one foot and step in front of the other.
Yeah, let it out. Let it out, even if you sound like this.
That's why I don't think anything. I mean, you won't think something about that. You won't think something that.
I'm here for you.
I understand how you won't think.
Let it out. Let that shit out.
Yeah. I mean, we sound like that sometimes, and that can be every day for 3 months. You're gonna be like, oh Lord, here they go. But I bet you sit right there and give them that shoulder, like they need that shoulder, dude. How do you have these queued up?
I am a professional. Hey, I can do your podcast. If you are interested in starting a podcast, holler at me.
He's not lying.
I'm becoming a better and better producer.
He is. He's doing very well. I'm very proud. Mrs. JP here. So yeah, I mean, that's, we don't want to drive it into the ground. It's just kind of where we are in the subject. So there's 7 types of grief, y'all. Each one of them is important to note. So I would say do some research. The different types is available on the internet. Look at those reputable sources, please. Make sure you know who you're reading, and just take heed and know that you're not by yourself, that we are out here. Everyone has had a loss, whether they have been impacted directly or indirectly. If they've had, disenfranchised grief, everything is out there, and you're not by yourself. Seek out some help, find somebody to talk to, y'all. And take care of yourself. It's real out here. So yeah. Yeah, that simultaneous sigh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Anything else we want to add for our listeners?
I'm good.
I think we're good. This is all again one of those therapies.
I'm getting more and more stuff off me.
Yeah, man.
Out of the pod.
There you go. We're in therapy here. So thank you all for listening. As always, we're so grateful for our listeners. We are available on all forms of social media.
Boys. And 1, 2, 3, and
Gmail.
Hey.
You think YouTube?
Not yet. Hold for music.
Finish, girl. You're supposed to go to the beat.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. I'm listening. paidinfullpod@gmail.com is our primary form of communication, as well as Facebook, Hotmail.
Taste the soup. Taste the soup.
TikTok. Twitter. Oh my God, I can't even think. Should I say Hotmail? Lord help us. Yeah, I think that's all I got. Go back to the music.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
See y'all next week. Peace out.
Love a black woman for infinity to infinity.